Thank you for joining us again and welcome back to another exciting episode here at The Explorer. As the continent of Africa experiences an incredible geopolitical shift, Africa is engaging its foreign partners for those that do not want the continent to increase its voice in the geopolitical circles, despite what we see happening in the Sahel and also across the continent in Sudan and a number of countries in the region. That doesn't necessarily mean that the continent of Africa does not have its own problems. Several African countries have some border issues and also internal problems. In this episode, I'm looking into the reason why the country of Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of the Congo are in loggerheads at the moment, and why African countries should be paying attention what's going on there. The president of the country of Rwanda has clearly stated that if it means going to war with the Democratic Republic of the Congo, so be it. However, the president of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Felix Tshisekedi, clearly indicated that the president of Rwanda on national television called him a war criminal. Africa should pay attention on what's happening in its borders. To kick this episode, we shall be looking at what the president of Rwanda is saying and also the president of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Let's dive into what the Democratic Republic of the Congo's president on national TV called the president of Rwanda a war criminal, and we will go into perspective further.
Does that mean that you're still prepared, as agreed, to meet Paul Kagame?
Mais j'ai toujours dit que je ne rencontrerai jamais
I've always said that I'd never meet the M23. Because, as I said, it's an empty shell, fabricated to justify the aggression against my country, the DRC.
Pour justement justifier l'agression contre mon pays, de la RDC, mais qu'en réalité, le vrai
But the real aggressor, the real criminal, is Paul Kagame. And I want to meet him, not to beg him or to negotiate anything with him. It's to ask him and tell him clearly, eye to eye, that he's a criminal, that enough is enough now and that his little game is known to everyone. It's enough what he's done to my country and my people, and it's time for him to leave the territory, the soil of my country.
Le territoire, le sol de mon pays.
Those were pretty strong words coming from the Democratic Republic of the Congo, but we will also bring to you the side of the Rwandan President Paul Kagame, how he's going to be responding with regards to such accusation on national TV. But first, let me give you a little bit of perspective as to regards to the situation in the country of the DRC and what's going on at the moment. The fighting in a war that has lasted decades has increased the risk of an all-out conflict between the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Rwanda that could also suck in neighbors and regional forces including South Africa, Burundi, Uganda, Tanzania, and including Malawi. In the capital Kinshasa and North Kivu provincial capital Goma, Congolese have taken to the streets to protest against deteriorating security in the east and also have accused the international community of not also doing enough to hold Rwanda to account for its support for the rebels. The M23, which refers to the March 23 date of 2009 accord, and that ended a previous Tutsi-led revolt in the eastern Congo, is the latest in a series of groups of ethnic Tutsi-led insurgency to rise up against Congolese forces. In a recent interview, the president of the country of Rwanda responded to the current allegations and the activities and happenings in that particular region of the continent of Africa. Let's take a listen in regards to the France 24 television station, and we will come back into perspective.
Mr. President, thank you very much for being our guest.
You're welcome.
In a recent interview, the President, Felix Tshisekedi, said, quote, "What's happening in Eastern DRC is a genocide 10 times worse than the one in Rwanda in 1994. And he points the figure at you and say you deserve much more than the International Criminal Court." What is your response?
Well, you can't be responding to everything and everybody says, whether it is an exaggeration or fabrication or people running away from their own problems and blaming others, which this case seems to be. So,
using the word genocide is not by accident, probably, no?
Well, I wouldn't come to that and just leave behind defining the problem, what actually is taking place. Eastern Congo problems should be understood even by the person who leads that country. He does seem to have a selective memory of what to call what is happening there, because in Rwanda we have 100,000 refugees, 100,000, and they keep coming. And most of them have been there for over 20 years, and they are associated with this problem. And these people, they've lost their property, their land, their own relatives and friends have been killed in Eastern Congo because of who they are. You might want to know that the mirror image of what happened in Rwanda in '94 has actually evolved over years in Eastern Congo. The 100,000 people I'm talking about, and actually there are 4 times the same number in Uganda, and I think others have gone to other places. They've been removed from their place, their property, and their lives have been destroyed because they are called Tutsis. So the Tutsis of Congo are supposed to be treated like the Tutsis of Rwanda in '94. And in fact, you see it when you look at the alliances that have even been formed, both on the ground in Eastern Congo and bringing in Burundi, and the pronouncements made by the same person making accusations publicly on the media platforms, with hate speech and the support for FDLR that killed the same Rwandans in Rwanda. So the way they come together under this leadership in DRC, I mean, to ignore that and you want to call it something else, somewhere else by somebody, I think you have to be missing something in your mind.
Meaning he's not rational? Is that what you're implying?
Here I'm not even saying he himself. I'm talking about anybody who listens to that and thinks he's even being rational.
This particular issue is not going anywhere soon. It's in a geopolitical sphere where each country is focusing on its own interest and to see how to resolve this issue. I think that the fact that Africa is focusing on engaging the global community and also pushing back to regards to the neo-colonial issues in the region, Africa does have some very critical issues that the continent needs to start addressing. If you look at the particular story, going back to several years, up to over 25 years that this problem has been, and we all know what each country is, and there is a process in place to try to see how to resolve this particular issue. The country of the Democratic Republic of the Congo and also the country of Rwanda need to look into this in a critical manner, because things that goes and escalate are not big in current geopolitical circles. These two countries do not see eye to eye with regards to this particular issue, and the region is so tense, but it appears as if nothing is going on. That's the reason why both presidents are clearly speaking out and airing out their mind and using some pretty strong language. In a recent interview, there is a current process in place. How that is playing out in the current geopolitical circles in the country of the DRC and also in the country of Rwanda, we will look into that. Let's dive into how the Democratic Republic of the Congo's president looks at the current process in place.
You just mentioned the 1990s when Rwandan refugees came to Zaire. Now it's 30 years later.
This is why I said it's been going on 30 years.
Today in Eastern Congo, we're seeing the presence of the M23 movement, which according to multiple statements by your government is supported by Rwanda. Do you plan to meet Rwanda's president, Paul Kagame, in the days to come?
There's currently an initiative being taken by Angolan President João Lourenço, who's been appointed mediator in this conflict by the African Union. And he's already put forward peace initiatives on several occasions, but they've all been sabotaged. Everything was sabotaged by Kagame and his regime. We're really at a final crossroads. There is now what we believe to be a last chance, and I want to give peace a chance as much as possible. But obviously, that's not because of weakness, and we're not always going to be patient like this, wishing for peace.
Does that mean that you're still prepared, as agreed, to meet Paul Kagame?
I've always said that I'd never meet the M23. Because, as I said, it's an empty shell, fabricated to justify the aggression against my country, the DRC.
Pour justement justifier l'agression contre mon pays, de la RDC.
Now, Rwanda does see it in a different way. The current process in place plays in the country of Rwanda from a different perspective. Let's look into how the president of Rwanda perceives the current involvement of Angola and a number of countries that are currently looking into how this particular region can become a peaceful location again as it once was. However, from his own analysis, let's dive into it with regards to this particular interview and how the country of Rwanda perceived this particular relationship with regards to the process.
There is a mediation by Angola for months to try to bring your foreign ministers and eventually you and the president of DRC together. From what we're hearing on both sides, it doesn't seem that this is going to work. Or are you still hoping?
I don't know, but for us, we have been very clear. There are processes in our region. There's the Luanda process in Angola. There has been Nairobi process in Kenya. There have been other efforts to try and help resolve the problem.
But nothing's working, right?
Yes, but for Rwanda, we have always been present and have contributed as much as we can to make it work. But Congo seems to have other ideas because East African community deployed forces there to go and help. The next day he expelled them. Then he brings in other groups he selected who he believed were going to fight for him to be able to continue what he's been doing. He brought in SADC forces, then detached Burundi from the East African forces, and there are others. So the whole thing is confused, but it is being confused by the same people who are hearing and complaining about problems.
You're still open to meeting him directly, despite all the misgivings you just talked about?
I saw him as the one who put conditions. I have never put conditions. When I was invited in Rwanda to have discussions on Eastern Congo and DRC general situation there between them and Rwanda, I was there. Then there were ministerial meetings that were supposed to prepare for when we should meet. You can ask the Angolans, they will tell you, I was ready, I have always been ready.
Are you still ready? That's my question. Or do you think it's too late, the trust is lost?
I don't think the question matters a lot because it is just a repetition of what I'm saying that you are making me do. I'm told you I've been always ready. So if I am saying that and I haven't, if I was not ready, I would tell you I'm not ready. But I haven't told you that.
Again, it boils down to both countries looking at their strategic objective in this particular situation. The current geopolitical environment in those two nations is very tense, and the number of African nations are not paying attention. The current situation not looking good, as you've heard from both presidents. The president of Rwanda, Paul Kagame, says he really wants to engage. However, the president also from the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Felix Tshisekedi, wants to engage to an extent. But the problem goes beyond what we are hearing on national TV, and also from the different leaders who have their own different interests and different interests from the different countries. Hopefully, the East African community could review this and jump into it before it escalates, because this is a problem that's brewing in the continent of Africa. As you've heard from both leaders, it's been going for over 30 years, and we all are watching. We want to thank you for watching. We are going to keep the conversation going. We do have other episodes coming up with regards to more analysis and what's happening in the continent of Africa and how Africa engages its international partners. Hopefully, the external partners' hands are not in this particular situation, but we will get to know. For now, we want to thank you for watching. We are looking forward to meeting you soon in our next episode with another exciting video. Have a good day. Bye-bye.